The room service called at 2:11 a.m. The suite reservation used my last name. I'm not jealous of bodies, I'm jealous of signatures. Bodies tell the truth if you stop staging them. Signatures choose which truth is allowed to arrive. At 2:11 a.m., the Beaumont's night manager called with the cheerful cruelty only hospitality can perfect. "Room service confirmation," she said. "2 glasses, midnight platter, charged to Mr. Marlin's suite under the name Bennett. Bennett is my last name. Marlin is my partner's first." I let the silence check itself in. You can hear a hotel through the phone if you've slept with enough receipts. The air that thinks it's expensive, the soft-chewed rehearsal of guilt. "Wrong number," I said, and hung up like a man setting a glass down before it shatters. The apartment had the posture rooms get when they've been practicing a story without you. The radiator breathed like an amateur chorus. The fern in the corner pretended photosynthesis could be discreet. I boiled water because water never auditions. It simply becomes itself. Marlin had texted at 10:43. "Board wants one more drink. Don't wait up." He's good at smoothing money's blazers and convincing actors the after-party is a rehearsal for courage. At 7:05 I'd filmed the coffee becoming itself because ritual is cheaper than religion and keeps better hours. I captioned it here. He reacted with the thumbs up he keeps for nights that intend to rename themselves. The phone on the counter kept its blue ring like an eye that has learned to eavesdrop politely. At 3:06 the lock cleared its throat. Marlin stepped in with his jacket over his shoulder, his shoes hooked by 2 fingers like witnesses too tired to lie. He smelled like lime and a decision made sotto voce. He kissed the air near my cheek, our administrative truce, and then saw the phone's missed call bloomed onto the display Beaumont, in that serif that thinks it's a parent. "You're up," he said, as if etiquette had mailed me a warning. "The Beaumont thinks I'm a man who likes midnight platters," I said. "It charged them to my last name in your room." His pupils turned into clocks, the small dilation that arrives just before he chooses a verb. He set his shoes on the mat like he was surrendering minor ships. Then he put both palms on the table, the way our therapist taught us when we wanted to give words somewhere to land. The gesture is either dignity or triage. "Which question?" he asked. "Why or who?" "Why," I said, "because Matt, my emergency adult, kicks me under imaginary tables when I lead with names. If I start with who, the hotel starts writing our minutes." Marlin looked at the patch of wall where the paint keeps wanting to retire without ceremony. "Because the scene wouldn't land," he said. "Because donors clapped at the wrong beat and wanted to be forgiven with gin. Because the lark felt like the wrong room for the truth and the Beaumont pretends every corridor is mercy. Because Ezra," he let the name settle, slow, pitched me a line reading, and said we should talk where the walls do heckle. Because the couch at the studio lies about sleep. Because I thought using your name would make me behave. "Did you kiss him?" I asked, breaking Matt's superstition like a boy with a stick and a fence. "In the elevator," he said. "Once, small and honest and wrong. I said his mouth didn't match the scene." He laughed. "I left before the platter arrived." "I hate how sane that sounds," I said, which is the sentence I keep for mercy with bad timing. We didn't sleep. We did something more humiliating and useful. We agreed to visit the Beaumont at noon when cities pretend to be merciful. Noon makes every lobby an apology. The marble was busy remembering who had walked on it. The desk clerk had a cathedral's poise. "Welcome back," she said to Marlin, "because architecture takes attendance. Will you be keeping suite 910 tonight?" The manager appeared with a smile rehearsed to survive lawsuits. "There seems to be a confusion of names," she said, which is what people say when they are holding the truth with oven mitts. She placed a folio on the counter and opened it like a modest theater curtains. "Suite 910, occupant, M. Marlin, billing contact, C. Bennett. Minibar, 2 waters. Midnight, platter charged, then voided. A scribble in the margin, guest left to catch his breath. Ezra arrived without being called, which is either fate or a man who keeps his ear where doors are. He had the posture of someone prepared to pay for his verbs. He stood beside me and didn't pretend surprise, my favorite trick in men who owe a room honesty. "I was coming to apologize," he said. "To you both, and to whatever part of this building thinks expensive lamps can absolve verbs. He loves you," he added, nodding toward Marlon. "I like being near that. I'm sorry our job uses the same grammar as desire." "You don't get to call it ours," I said, "because cleverness is my superstition and I tithe when I'm anxious. Rehearsal is a room, a kiss is a scene, a sweet is a noun. You don't get to be the verb in our kitchen." Marlon didn't look at him. He looked at me with the exact weight of a man deciding which door deserves his mouth. "I want open windows," he said, "not open doors." We left with nothing more dramatic than the automatic revolving door trying to volunteer absolution. Outside, the city performed whether like it had been coached by sincerity. I bought a paper I didn't plan to read and threw it away after we crossed the street because ceremony is my favorite placebo. At home, I moved the kitchen chair into the middle of the floor because procedures save men when gods won't. Marlon smiled like a man relieved to be caught kindly. He came around the table and paused, always that pause, his most decent habit. I met him halfway. The first kiss was apology without speeches. The second slid his fingers under my shirt and my hand to the back of his neck, the place he keeps for oaths and sleep. We didn't perform a ceremony. We used heat as a system. If I could draw you the rest without getting evicted by an algorithm that prefers virtue louder than accuracy, I would. You can have breath that belonged to both of us, a belt resigning with grace, a palm pinning a wrist as proof we remembered to ask. The room did not applaud. It didn't need to. The city prefers quizzes. 2 nights later, the Beaumont Social posted a carousel at 1:41 a.m. Hand saw light in the mirrored hallway outside 910, 4 bodies if you counted reflections. Marlon washing his hands, head down. Ezra behind him, tie loosened. A stranger passing like a rumor. Me in the doorway because someone had tagged my name, helpful as a fire drill during an apology. The caption said, "Boys being brave." Comments did what comments do. I typed nothing. I turned the phone face down. I moved the chair until the room remembered it wasn't a witness stand. Marlon came home and handed me his phone without instructions. "Delete or archive," he said. "I don't want new grammar." "You don't need me to erase your verbs," I said. He rested his forehead against mine like a paperweight on a better draft. 3 days later, the email with fonts that never apologized to kitchens arrived. Residency, 7 days, quiet rooms, honest windows. He forwarded the PDF with every map attached, which is how you know a man has learned where courage keeps its receipts. "I want to go without disappearing," he wrote. "I'll send pages, not alibis. When I get back, ask me what I wrote before what I did." I taped 2 lines under the lemon magnet because props still save us when God is off shift. Addresses in the open. A good night here voice note every day. He added a third in careful mess. If an "I can't" is coming, it happens where both of us are. Night 1, wind and a sentence I decided to believe. Today the table forgave me. Night 3, silence, and my thumb became the worst teenager in the world. I opened the hotel app without meaning to and stared at the calendar like prophecy wears a bow tie. Every date was an argument. I closed it. I moved the chair instead. At 8:12 he called with a voice that made the kettle think there might be a God. "I almost kissed a window," he said. "It didn't know your name. I closed the blinds." He came back with a suitcase that didn't slam and 2 pages he treated like animals. "They're not good," he said. "They're mine," I said, and we performed our small religion. Paper kettle, the room showing up like a witness who refuses drama. He slid his hands under my shirt from behind, slower than contrition, faster than nostalgia. "Here," he said into the bend of my neck, which is the only word left that has never demanded witnesses. We tried boring. We failed gracefully. We tried again. Ezra learned to stand at the back of the house with his arms crossed like a man paying the bill he owes himself. He clapped exactly once at the new scene's kiss and didn't text. The Beaumont's concierge learned our names and stopped saying them like a magic trick. For a week, doors were just doors. Tests returned like weather, indiscriminate and intimate. At 12:08 a.m., an email landed in the tone of a polite surveillance camera. Late checkout confirmed for Bennett. The time was 2 p.m., the room 910, the card the one I carry in a wallet that prefers monogamy. I stared at the screen until the serif admitted it was just ink. I moved the chair. The lock cleared its throat at 1:05. Marlin came in with rain in his hair and a sentence ready. "I went back," he said, "to ask the room what it thought it knew. Ezra walked with me to the elevator and then kept walking. I closed my hand around the key and gave it to the desk like a hot stone. Do you want to hate me now or later? I prefer now. I like the way you come back from it." "I'm tired of coming back," I said. "I want to stay." He nodded and slid the flattened key card across the counter, not as spectacle but like a man returning a borrowed noun. He touched my jaw with 2 fingers, the intimacy director's sacrament, repurposed for domestic faith, and for once the gesture belonged exactly where it landed. We went to bed without performing an essay on forgiveness. We used our mouths the way men do who still prefer heat to cleverness. The room didn't applaud. It didn't need to. Weeks alter even honest bruises. The lobby's mirror kept multiplying men until the math got bored. The concierge kept her smile where it belonged, between transactions. The city kept making rooms that want to pronounce us. I kept the kettle and the chair we move when words try to riot. On a Tuesday that didn't deserve it, a postcard arrived from the residency house. A window scribbled in charcoal, a line on the back in Marlin's careful chaos. "Remember to ask me what I wrote before what I did." I put it under the magnet like a clause we intend to honor. One more retest, because the world is thorough when it thinks you've studied. At 12:31 a.m., the hotel's automated voice called to confirm the amenity delivery to 910 at 1 o'clock per Mr. Bennett. I laughed, which is to say I didn't cry. I said there is no Mr. Bennett at 910, and if there is, tell him he's already checked out. I hung up and set the kettle on for the excuse of sound. Marlin came home at 1:18 with his hands empty and his mouth unarmed. He asked if I wanted witness or company, he said. I said I wanted the kind of quiet you can eat breakfast in. He went home. I came here. He watched me breathe like a man learning a new instrument. "Do we have to move the chair?" "We can leave it where it is," I said, "but we'll both look at it for a second." We did. Then the ordinary took its turn. Dishwasher, toothbrush, the soft politics of 2 towels. In bed, he kissed me like a man paying off a debt with the right currency at last, slow interest, honest arithmetic. I won't draw you the rest because the room didn't ask to be translated. Keep the inventory, 2 bodies that kept their nouns, a breath we shared because we asked, a door that finally understood the difference between greeting and granting. Morning behaved. It crossed the floor like a dog that knows we're still worth guarding. I made coffee and put his mug where his hand lands without thinking. He came behind me and set his palm flat over my chest in that quiet territory between heartbeat and promise. "Here," he said, less a word than a careful wait. I pressed my hand over his and let the day inherit whatever courage we had to spare. Around noon, the theater's account posted a still from the talkback. Marlin seated in profile mid-laugh. Ezra beside him, listening like attention is a sport he trains for. The caption thanked donors and said community without blushing. I let my eyes perform the smallest treason. Noticed the angle of Marlon's ankle toward Ezra's, the geometry of candor that is only sometimes innocent. I did nothing with it. Some truths don't need translation. They just want to be named and then asked to sit quietly in the back. That night we invited two friends in the habit of normalcy to dinner. The doorbell recognized no one by name. It rang like an object doing its job. After dishes, Marlon set a 3-minute timer on his phone, a micro-ritual Matt insists on. Speak until the beep, don't interrupt, answer as if time were expensive. At the end, he stepped closer and asked, not with spectacle but with grammar, whether he could touch me. I said yes. We went to the bedroom not because penance asked for witnesses, but because the room had been patient with our revisions. He said my name like a verb that had earned its place. The rest is heat as a system, consent as choreography, silence as a roof you can sleep under. Tomorrow we'll try again. Hotels will dial numbers the night gave them. Lobbies will practice forgiveness with carpets. Ezra will exist where he exists, a person, not a villain. Donors will clap in wrong places. The city will invent quizzes for evenings that thought they already graduated. But when Marlon says here, my body has stopped auditioning for suspicion. If another hour offers me a folio with my last name attached to somebody else's room, I hope I remember the handful of humiliating, useful acts that got us through this one. Put water on. Move the chair when words try to riot. Ask why before who. Hold the breath before contact and let it finish being the scene. Then wait for the lock's small throat clearing like it's the first note in a song we can still tune to. We didn't get away with anything. We stayed. We are still staying. The Beaumont can keep its glass and its inventory of apologies. We'll keep being the address. Or, on the nights we can't, we'll be the map that admits its misprints and still shows the way back. Past the revolving door that thinks it's a verb, past the elevator's red dot that loves its own memory, into a kitchen where a chair remembers what it's for. A kettle keeps its 7:05 appointment, and two hands that have done worse learn again how to touch without asking the night to edit.